Welcome to today's crash course. We're going to focus on a real important topic in JavaScript: use strict. This is something that can really help you write cleaner, more reliable code. But before I dive into what it does, let me show you a common mistake in JavaScript that strict mode can help prevent. Let us head over to our VS Code and creating a file called index.html, and this is going to contain some basic HTML but as well help us connect our JavaScript file. Then I'll just go ahead and create also a JavaScript file, and I can just put in some basic JavaScript code like console.log hello to just make sure that our connection was done correctly. Then in my HTML, I will just put in some basic codes, and then I can just say strict mode. I can just have in an h1 here, strict mode, as this is going to be our focus, and then we can connect our JavaScript by using a script tag and giving it an attribute of source, which will contain a path to our JavaScript file or just our JavaScript file if it is already in the same directory as our index.html. So now, to make sure that this was fully connected with our JavaScript, we can run our HTML within our browser to check if our JavaScript is running within the browser. So now we can see our HTML, and to check if our JavaScript is running within the browser, we can inspect and then look into our console to see that if we already have our JavaScript running in the browser. We can see this is our printed text, and it is coming from the index.js file. Now our JavaScript is well connected. So as I told you, let me first show you a common mistake in JavaScript which strict mode can help or prevent straight away. So let us have a full name and give it a name of maybe let us give it a name of Noir King. So if we console this, by the way, console.log is used to print anything that is passed into its brackets. Let us pass in the full name. If we head over to our browser, we can see that we were able to print our full name. Now, what's wrong with this code that we just wrote? At first glance, nothing seems out of the place. It runs perfectly fine and prints the name within our console. But there is a mistake. The variable full name was never declared, as in we didn't use let, constant, or var. And this is a big problem in JavaScript. So what does JavaScript do? Without strict mode, JavaScript allows this and creates a global variable called full name behind the scenes. That's right. It just assumes you wanted this to be global, and this can be a really dangerous habit, especially in large projects. Imagine you have a bunch of different parts of your code, all using the keyword full name. And remember, it's globally. And suddenly one part of your code overwrites it. Let's say you have anywhere in your codes another full name, and it's assigned a different value, and it will override it. And that was probably not your intention. Therefore, you end up having a bug and had to track down. So now let's see. Here is the same code, but with the keyword use strict. We did not change anything from our codes. We just added this keyword above called use strict. If we come back to our browser and look at what if our browser console will print out this, we can see now we got an error, and the error said unquote reference error. Full name is not defined. Indeed, it is not defined because we've never declared it. So this is why I really encourage you not to rely on JavaScript default behavior of creating global variable without declaration. It's a bad habit and can lead to really bugs. So now, what is use strict? This is a special directive that enables strict mode in JavaScript. Strict mode was introduced in ECMAScript 5 or ES5, and it enforces stricter rules on how you write your codes and how it runs. It helps catch mistakes early that would otherwise go unnoticed, which makes your code clearer, cleaner, and easier to debug. And how do we enable strict mode? We enable strict mode the same way I used it here, by just making sure that we put in a use strict at the top of our file. And this will mean that we are enforcing a strict mode within our whole file. And you can do that for all different files or all your JavaScript files by just making sure that you write on your first line use strict keyword or directive, and this will enable now strict mode within your whole file. And you can do it for a separate section, like let's say within a function, and before you can declare anything within a function, you start with your use strict directive. But let's make sure that we shall be using it in a whole file so that we can enable strict mode within the whole file. So to be more specific, please make sure you have your use strict directive on your first line, and you can go ahead and write some JavaScript codes. So usually whenever we want to use a variable, we should always first declare it with either constant keyword or let keyword or val keyword. As I said. So for now, let me declare my full name, this full name of John Doe with a constant, and now I can either terminate it with a semicolon or just leave it out, because JavaScript should be able to execute even if you leave out the semicolon. Then if I do console.log full name, we shall see that now we are able to execute our JavaScript code within our browser console. But if we remove the constant keyword, we shall get an error of reference error. Full name is not defined because we never declared it. We should always declare with keywords such as constant, let, and val. So why use strict mode? As I said, use strict mode is a directive that will help us mostly catch different errors. So the biggest reason is that it helps us, or it will help you catch mistakes early before you can run even your codes in most of the cases. So to be more specific, let us look at another example where strict mode will be more helpful. Let us now try this example without a use strict, and we see how it should work. So let me say I have a function. So this is how we declare a function, and it's a function of sum, and I'm supposed to sum up three numbers, and this should return a summation of A plus C. So our function is going to return A plus C, and we can always do our console.log of our result. But first, let us first make sure that we print our result here. So our result will be sum, and now you can see our function is taking in 3 parameters. So let's say we have our 3 parameters like this. And now if we look at our console of result, let us go in our browser, we can see we got 13. Where did the 13 come from? You see we have 3 parameters, but we have a parameter of A, then C. Which one did it use for A? You can obviously see that it used for A5, since 5 plus 8 will be equal to 13. But this is an error, even if we can't see it right away, because we have two similar parameters, and this is not usually allowed to have duplicates as parameters. If we come and use strict mode, then we'll see that we'll get an error. So we have now introduced in our use strict directive, and now we'll see that we have a syntax error. Duplicate parameter name not allowed in this context. So therefore you can see how very important use strict mode is. It will protect us in most of the cases to prevent ourselves from having duplicate names, since it is not allowed. So therefore we will now remove this one, and we will know that we should use two parameters without some duplicates, and now we can get our results that are accurate. So if I refresh this, and you can see now one error was removed, but they're still giving us an error. Reference error, result is not defined. Therefore we should also declare this result by using a constant keyword, and now we can obviously see our answer. So you've seen that it helped us resolve two errors, and these are common errors. If you do not have use strict, you will end up getting a proper result and think that you have properly written your codes, yet it is wrong. So please, to make it simple or to sum up, use strict directive is very, very important to us, since this is mostly going to help us catch common mistakes earlier, and it will help us prevent bugs and as well make your codes easier to maintain. So I highly recommend using use strict directive in all your projects and in all your files. So to sum up it all, strict mode helps you write a safer, cleaner code. It catches common mistakes earlier, prevents bugs, and makes your code easier to maintain. I highly recommend using this directive, use strict, which will impose, or which will make sure that our code is using a strict mode. But as always, be careful if you're working with older code bases, since strict mode might cause some older, more relaxed code to break. And that's it for today's crash course. I hope you now have a solid understanding of how and why we should use strict mode and why it is very useful. Thanks for joining, and happy coding everyone.